We're just a week away from FWD Champions Day. 3 Group 1s, including the prestigious QEII Cup. And our special guest knows what it takes to win the $24 million race. Neil Callan, the Irish rider, joins us in the studio. He's our special guest to talk about blazing speed, his career in Hong Kong, and a couple of his rides on Monday at Sha Tin. Neil, terrific to have you as our special guest on the show. Before we get to blazing speed and the QEII Cup, let's get to the beginning. You're very successful riding in the UK. When did you decide, though, that you wanted to come to Hong Kong to ride?
Well, obviously I'd done about 20 years in 20 seasons in England, and it was quite profitable. It was quite a profitable stint for me there. I crept my way all the way up into the top 5 in England, and I spent probably 18 seasons in the top 5. So, Hong Kong was always something that I had watched from afar and noticed at my time when I was a kid that there was a lot of top jockeys coming over here for the winter times. And it kind of just got me a little bit interested to see what it was about. And, once I delved into it and looked into it a little bit more, I was like, wow, it opens up your eyes, and it's such a big racing stage that at some point I was going to have to try it out.
How did the opportunity come up to ride here?
Well, I was riding in England, doing so well, and then I think Ryan Moore was meant to come for the Jockeys Challenge one year, and for some reason he couldn't come, and then I just got a chance phone call from Mr. Railton asking would I be interested, and once I got that call I was like, this is the moment I've been waiting for, to come and see what it was all about. And I came and took part in the Jockeys Challenge that year. I think it was about 2010, something like that, 2009. And I was very impressed with what I saw, and it was a very much of an eye-opener, as in, like, the racing is completely different, but it does takes you by awe. And I didn't immediately come back, but it was something that I was very keen on coming back on a full-term basis, and well, we're here now.
Your first full-time season here was 2014-2015, so you've been here ever since then, full-time. Let's have a look at your statistics in that time. 223 wins overall, strike rate of just over 7%. When you look at those numbers, strike rate, prize money, is a job well done? What's your sort of reaction when you see the numbers in front of you?
Look, the numbers are they're good to look at, but obviously in comparison to certain others, it's a bit different. But for myself, when I look at that, I think there's a lot more seconds than there is winners. So I immediately think that it's just my perception of my own self and what I think I should want, or what I think I should be able to do. And I'm a competitive sportsman, so obviously I always look at a statistic like that and think, well, I could always do better. So, look, I'm happy, as in when I came to Hong Kong, that the previous European, English or Irish jockey had come here had left after like 3 weeks, and it was 10 years since any English or Irish jockey had come here, and I think since Mick Kinane had done so well. And I'm not comparing myself to Mick Kinane; he was obviously a way better jockey, but I feel proud of myself that I've come. And when I first came, it was so difficult to break through, but it made me more determined. And I feel like from that point of view, looking at those stats, I think I'd have to be quite proud of myself and what I've done. The
other stat I wanted to point out too, you mentioned riding at the 2 tracks here in Hong Kong, Happy Valley and Sha Tin. We race obviously more frequently at Sha Tin. Your strike rate's better though at Happy Valley. Is there a reason for that? Do you ride better, do you think, at the city track compared to at Sha Tin?
I wouldn't say I ride better. I feel like I can ride both tracks as good as each other, and as long as you're on the right type of horse. I feel like certain types of horses are suited to Happy Valley, and it just so happens that I seem to get on with them a little bit more when they switch to Valley track after being sometimes racing at Sha Tin. But I feel like at Happy Valley, when I go and ride there, I'm not afraid to take a chance. Obviously, like when you ride at Sha Tin, normally the best horse wins the race. So, I feel like I don't, on a percentage basis of a race day, I don't feel like I get a higher percentage of top 3 finish rides. Maybe 1 or 2 have a chance out of 8 rides, whereas when I go to Happy Valley, it might be the same. 3 or 4 have a chance out of 8 rides, but I can feel that I can take a chance depending on which part of the rail is running and which part of the track is running best, that you can maybe try and take a chance and ride with a little bit more, you know, just a little bit more daring. And sometimes it comes off, sometimes it doesn't.
Let's go back 4 years. We'll wind the clock back to QE2 Cup day of 2015. And a horse who was pretty special for you in Blazing Speed. You're about to turn for home when we pick up the footage. Can you remember what was going through your mind at this point in time?
Well, at the start, I was like, I'm amazed at how the position I got from my bad gate, and that was the most thing I was worried about. But once he kind of settled into the run and he travelled around and the pace was quite generous, at the 800 I had a look around and I could see Stefanos on the inside, a couple of the horses, and I was following Military Attack, and I thought, well, at least I thought Military Attack's going to take me at least into the straight. Out of the horses that I knew from behind, the only one I thought was Designs on Run, because he always used to make his customary, you know, wide run around them. So I was like checking under my arm and just making sure that he wasn't going to make a dash and pin me in. And the only one I thought in front of me that I was worried about was Stefanos. And I knew I had enough horse to be able to just hold him and wait. He had a wall of horses in front of him. And, you know, once I got to the outside and I had running at the 300, I thought Designs on Run was going to have to be good to peg me back from here. And I thought I had everything else covered in front. And your old heart gets a bit racing because, you know, you think, I got a chance here. And luckily for me, Blazing Speed just kicked the motor in and just took off and put the race to bed.
You've won big races in the UK, like the Racing Post Trophy, the Nunthorpe, number of big races here in Hong Kong too. Where does that QE2 Cup rank in your career?
Oh, I'd put it at the top. I'd put it at the top. It's the race itself has grown to be like in the top 10 races in the world globally, which is massive for Hong Kong racing as well. So to be a part of that, maybe just for 1 year, that 1 year that I won it, is pretty special. Like, I've ridden a lot of good horses. I rode a horse in Europe pressing that I won like 3 or 4 Group 1s on, about 10 Group 2s on him. He was very, very tough, very good, but Blazing Speed was quite special. He had a bit of class, he was tough, and he was a strong stayer as well as having speed to win a Group 1 over a mile. So, look, my wife and my kids couldn't come racing that day, but they did come to the outside fence on pulling up, and that makes it even more special when you see them on the way back. And no, it was good. Very, very special. Not
long after that, in the 2016-2017 racing season, you came 3rd in the Jockeys Championship behind the all-conquering Joe Moreira. But since then, 10th in the championship last year, you currently sit 16th. What's changed in those couple of years?
I don't know. You know, I've had a good 4 or 5 years, top 5, and then, like you say, 3rd in the championship and 4th and 5th. So I was holding my position quite well, and I was working hard. And the last 2 seasons, last season was a little bit tough. Last season I think was a little bit tougher because they upped the fixture list, and I think the trainers, you know, the amount of horses that I had kind of pinned to go into the early races and the early meetings, they kind of were hanging back and they were waiting, because I think the trainers were kind of like being a little bit more patient with their horses throughout the season. So I kind of got a little bit caught out there. I think if you noticed last season that the first 3 months, like, the fields were not full, there were small fields, and it was just a little bit tougher to get rides. And once you start off a little bit slow like that at the start of a season, you're kind of on the back foot then. And at that point then, the trainers and the owners, they want the people that are winning. And you just kind of get left a little bit behind, but, you know, it didn't stop me working hard and pushing harder. And I did have a good end to the season last season. I worked myself back up. And this season's been a little bit tougher, but look, it is what it is. I'm never one to dwell, and I never want to moan or cry, and I just get my head down and work as hard, if not harder, to try and get myself back up there. And I believe I can, because I think I'm riding as well as anybody. Does it test your resolve, though? No, I don't believe it does, because I've been here long enough to know that it's. When I first came here, I couldn't buy a ride, so I had to really work hard to get up. And the last season or so, it might have dropped a little bit, but I know what it takes to push myself back up, and I know how much hard work you've got to put in, and I will continue to do so, and hopefully things will turn around. Absolutely.
They could even turn around on Monday for you. You've got 5 rides at Sha Tin. Let's have a look at Neil's book of rides for the meeting, starting off with Never Better in Race 2, Sangria, Bear Slam, Winner Supreme and Tangmere. Pick out a couple. Start off, Neil, with Bear Slam, who's had a few runs now here in Hong Kong. This was the first time you rode him on the all-weather track. Best effort ever here as well too. Is he starting to improve and hit his straps?
Yes, it was a very good run. Like, he had a tricky gate, and he had to kind of push forward a bit, and he was stuck a bit wide down the back straight for a portion of the race, which didn't really suit him. I think the John Size horse had quite an easy time in front off a lightweight, and my fella had to carry quite a bit of weight, but he closed off the race quite strongly. So you would like to think now, after he's had a few runs and he's settled in and he's just dropped back into Class 3 now, that it'll give him a chance to kind of get some confidence from having a good run like this, that he will go forward. And you know, he's got a good pedigree. He's bred to handle the dirt and also the turf. So you know, hopefully going into this race, they will give him a bit of a chance to hopefully win and then improve from that. But he's still only young, but he's got a good pedigree. So I believe, you know, once a horse has a good pedigree and once they do kind of settle in and they hit their straps and they do improve with form, that blue blood underneath can stamp them and make them improve from there.
And I know you haven't ridden Winner Supreme before, but he's won his last 2. Looks like a nice ride to pick up.
Yes, he's been mixing it on the dirt. He won down the straight very impressively. 2 runs ago, he won 5 lengths head in his chest, and then last time I think the 2 kids kind of had to go hammer and tongue for a long way. So to his credit, it was for his resolve to keep going and hang out for the win. He's going to meet the same horse off a lighter weight. It's not going to have Victor Wong on this time, but hopefully his class will shine through. Away from racing,
you're married to Trish. 4 kids, 4 boys. What's life like for Neil Callan away from the racetrack?
It's as full on as it is on the track. Look, I got 4. I got my wife Trish, and I got 4 boys: Jack, Henry, Ted, and Will. And you know, once they're at school, I love going in the afternoon and watching them do their sports and picking them up and bringing them home. And you know, my eldest 2 are always sporty, so they're riding, they're swimming, they're playing football, rugby, everything for the school. So I obviously go to some of their games for that as well. And you know, obviously if they're on the school holidays, we have time to go to the beach or, you know, just chill out and just spend family time, and which is very important to me. You know, the good thing about Hong Kong racing and living in Hong Kong is that, you know, we race twice a week. Yes, we work hard every day of the week, but we get up very early in the morning and we do all our track work and do all our homework in the morning after, and then we have like late morning throughout the day then to spend time with the family, which is a massive plus for me.
You mentioned the boys riding. Is there a future jockey amongst them?
I don't know. Look, they all ride. It's great that they can learn to ride, whether they pursue it and keep going with it throughout their life. But my eldest son, Jack, is quite accomplished. He's got good balance. He's got nice hands. Henry's improved. My second son, he's improved a lot. Ted is a little bit wild still, so he just wants to do handstands and backflips and ride like cowboy on the pony. So they're all very different. But you know, Jack's going to have his first crack at it because he's the eldest at 12, but he's still a long way off. Like, I mean, he's quite light, he's thin, and he's very fit. But look, I'll never push them either way. If they want to do it, I'll support them, but they got to do it right, and obviously they got to be better than Daddy.
That might take a bit of effort, though. Yeah, it's been terrific to talk to you. All the best, not only for Monday and a big week coming up next week, but for the rest of the season. Thanks for coming and joining us on HK Direct.
Thank you very much, Ed.
Thanks to Neil Callan for his time joining us on this week's edition of the show. If you want to catch him in action on Monday, tune into the Trackside Live coverage, which commences at 12:30. The Hong Kong Lions Cup is our trophy race at 3 o'clock, featuring the very impressive 3-year-old Voyage Warrior. For more information, not only on the weekend, but on what we've got coming up on a big weekend of racing the following weekend with FWD Champions Day, go to the website and also to Twitter. But that's it for this edition of HK Direct. Can't wait for FWD Champions Day next weekend. We look forward to your company on the show this time next week when we'll be previewing the 3 Group 1s. But until then, it's goodbye.